Hello. Today is, what's today? Today is the 31st of May, and here is your reading. So let me review your question first of all. This is about writing projects, which is unusual topic, but I like it. So let's see, blah, 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 blah. So you have a couple of different writing projects that you're working on, and you're trying to figure out, basically, should you focus on the solo writing project that you have, or versus a collaborative writing project? You have a co-author that you're working on, and this is all fiction, so it's the same kind of writing for both projects. And then the second question is, for your solo project, you've been hemming and hawing about whether you should write it in the first person versus the third person. Actually, I think it's already underway. It's presently in the third person. I've been waffling back and forth about whether to write it in the first person. So we can take a look at that as a secondary topic. So I shuffled the cards before I started the video. I used that 9-digit number that you gave me to choose two cards. This was the this is the theme of the reading, comes from this oracle deck here, and I picked the 40th card out of the deck for this one. And then for the tarot here, I picked the 25th card out of the tarot. So I don't know if 40 and 25 have any meaning for you, but I derived those numbers numerologically from the number that you gave me to draw these cards. So keep that in the back of your head if it has special meaning for you. So let's take a look at the theme of the reading. Play. Okay, you got Loki, play. So that's kind of an interesting. So this is, as a theme for the reading, what I think this is going to be telling us is that, play is about enjoyment, right? So the types of things that you're asking me about, I think really the focus is going to be trying to find, well, what do you enjoy the most, right? Where does it, because when they talk about passion projects, and I just happen to know you're not a writer as your primary job. You have a job that earns your money, and then your secondary, what do you call it? Side gig. Your side gig is your writing, right? So it's already a passion project for you, and it's already something that you're doing because you enjoy it. So I think as a theme for the reading, this makes total sense. As we piece together the puzzles, I think really where we're going to be guided is, what do you enjoy the most, right? So I like it. So play. And then I'll save this one till the end. I think I'll probably use this as like a guide card for you to sum up, the advice at the end of the reading. So we'll put that aside for now. So let me get started, and I'm going to draw 3 cards for you for the foundation. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, and just let's look at the situation and what's going on here. Okay, all 3 cards are reversed. That's kind of interesting. Although, let's see. Yeah, I was kind of looking at the spread. It's about 50% reversed. So they look. I was wondering if I shuffled them weird, but no, they look normal. So so in the looks like you're coming from a place like the king. Well, first of all, I guess there's a blockage. I'm guessing there's just an overall blockage here because they're all reversed. So let's kind of just keep that in the back of our heads. But it looks like you're coming from a place of the King of Pentacles is really about being a ruler and having masculine energy and dominion over your livelihood and the material plane. So that looks like kind of where you're coming from. And so what I would say is it's about, since if we're looking at the theme as writing in general and not just these 2 projects, or the 2 questions that you asked, it's looking like, okay, you're coming from a place of writing as wanting it to be more of a primary source of your income, a source of your livelihood, right? Rather than maybe the secondary nature that it has right now. It looks like in the present moment, though, you have the Ten of Wands. You have the Ten of Wands here, and so that means that there's definitely like there's a lot of burden that you're carrying right now, and so I think that the burden in the present moment is interfering with your writing. However, now I forgot the secondary thing I was going to say. Hopefully it'll come back to me, but in any case, yeah, there's definitely a lot of burden to bear here, and these are this is the Ten of Wands. So the Ten of Wands is really going to be speaking about your passion and the fire inside you, and wands to me are always, when they come up with like something that you're doing, that's like the thing. Wands it's a good sign that a wand came up, because the wands are the indicator that it's a passion project rather than something that you're just doing to earn money. Now, and then where you're kind of headed, where we're getting to is, I really like this card as like a sort of an immediate future card for you, which is that you're kind of heading to a place where you're going to have some evolution. So this is the third card is the moon. And so there's the evolutionary aspect that I really like. There's the crayfish crawling out of the water. It's being met with all of these big obstacles, like the dog and the wolf, and but it's going on a path to the promised land, right, through the mountains, on the journey. So I really love this. So I feel like that you're heading for a place where you're going to continue to evolve, and I really like this. The secondary aspect of the moon here is the moon itself as a planetary object. There's the face of the moon that we see, the man in the moon, and it's always facing the earth. And then there's the dark side of the moon, which is the side that we don't see. So that aspect of the moon usually is about either hidden knowledge. It's about intuition. It's about things that are there, but you can't see them. So I really like this. I feel like you're going to be going to a place where you're evolving as a writer. You're going to be going to a place where you're going to have access to this knowledge, intuition, skill, whatever you want to call it. Very like the yin side, though, the feminine energy, not like swordsy sort of just purely intellectual information. Like a deep-seated connection to writing is you're going to make connection with that. So whether that means that I think actually what came to me is that like there will be aspects of writing that are not second nature to you now that will be second nature to you in the near future. So I really like that as well. It could be not just about the physical act of writing or the creative aspect of writing, but it could also be the management of getting your writing published. Everything about with the nature of the craft itself and the production of the end product. So I love these cards. However, they're all reversed, and we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, so the present moment being overly burdened is probably just pandemic bullshit. The fact that they're all reversed could just be the present situation, difficulty in communicating with others because you can't meet with them face to face in terms of authorship and whatever. So it could be all that stuff at play, which is causing the reversals. So I wouldn't read too much into that part. Don't worry. So now let me get back to the specific questions. So the bigger question that you asked is, let me put my computer on mute so that it doesn't beep at me. So there's the first aspect of the projects, right? So there's the solo project, the collaborative project, and then I was going to explore, do you work on them both simultaneously? You didn't mention any third choice. And I didn't really read into it like there's no chance of doing neither, so I'm not going to look at that. So we'll look at solo, the collaborative project with the co-author, and then both simultaneously. And I want to look at two aspects of each one too. So let's look at the fulfillment aspect of doing these projects, and then let's look at the fiduciary aspect. So we're going to look at how on an emotional level or on a soul level, how fulfilling are these going to be for you? And then we're also going to look at, well, because if you're going to publish, you're going to sell. So is one of these projects more financially lucrative to you? So that'll take 6 cards. So give me a second and I will pull those. So we'll do solo, collaborative, and then both. Okay, so we've got the 6. So solo right here, the collaborative project here, and the doing both at the same time here. And then the card on the left, the first ones in each case will be the emotional fulfillment level, and then the right-hand ones, the ones on the right, will be the second cards will be the financial aspect. Okay. I like this because it's almost like you can't go wrong. So let's see. Let's just break it on down. Now, so we've got the and how many reversals are there's only 2 reversals up here, so that's actually pretty good. So the first one, the solo project, is I've got the 2 of Cups reversed as the emotional fulfillment aspect, which is kind of odd because like the 2 of Cups has to do with kind of a union on an emotional level, but that came up for the solo project. Of course, that's what's blocked because it's reversed. So I think literally on an emotional level, the one downside of working on the solo project that is coming up is the human connection that is going to be lacking by working on the solo thing. You know what? And now that I'm just kind of saying that, I'm not getting anything else for that. So I want to draw another card because like that just goes without saying. So let's I want to pick an additional card. Just what else do we need to know on an emotional level for the solo project? Gosh, it echoes. Okay. So the second card you got is the eight of cups, and so basically, you know, there's the way the cups are structured in the card. There's one cup missing, and you have a person with his back to us, and he's leaving. So basically, something's missing, and he's going off to seek it. And then the other aspect is sometimes you have to leave certain things behind. So this actually could. I'll be really curious to figure out what the guide card is. I think I might change what I'm going to be doing as we go forward, like the way I structured this. So I'm going to actually go through the rest of the cards before I pull more ones, pull more. But I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to change the layout a little bit. But so we've got the 2 of Cups, which is like, okay, you're going to be lacking 2 of Cups reversed, which is like you're going to be lacking the human companionship aspect, which goes without saying on a solo project. But then you've got this like, I'm thinking that rather than like seeking something that's missing, well, actually it could be both. I think like some of the emotional fulfillment aspect of this project could be that you are going to be seeking something that's missing with your current writing projects by doing the solo project. I know that your current project has been the collaborative effort for a few years. So the solo project, I think, is the newer, more nascent thing, right? So this could be indicating that, you know, by doing the solo project, you are going to be seeking something that's missing right now in the projects that you have been working on, the collaborative. It also could be telling you it's time to leave that behind, right? So you've got emotional stuff because it's cups, emotional attachments, emotional whatever, and then there comes a time when you have to move on. So this also could be telling you that it's time to move on. From a financial perspective, you got the Ace of Cups, which it's not a money card, but from a financial perspective, you will be emotionally satisfied by the financial aspect of the solo project, right? So number one, there's like the divinely offered opportunity coming from the hand out of the cloud. So yay. And secondly, it could be trying to tell you too that as a solo effort, the compensation that you receive will be emotionally fulfilling, because like that's 100% you. On a collaborative project, the recognition you receive, financial recognition you receive, it's a shared effort. So you're, even great or not great, that's sort of a shared, what do you call it? It's a shared reward, right? Whereas there's no sharing, and aces are ones too. So it's kind of also just the very number is indicating that it's like, okay, it's solo remuneration here. So it looks good. Definitely looks good. The collaborative project, I would say on an emotional level, you've got the Queen of Swords. So the Queen of Swords, there's a couple aspects that I think are pertinent here. So I think the fact that it's swords, so it's all about ideas, and in a collaborative project, you have to basically throw out a lot of ideas, and then you do have to settle on them. So with multiple people, sometimes that can be difficult. So one of the things of the Queen of Swords is the Queen of Swords has mastery over these ideas, but in the end, you kind of have to be polite, diplomatic, calculating, and careful, and very thoughtful in order to formulate ideas for this project. So the fact that it's for a collaboration, I think the collaborative, there's a transformative aspect of this card because of the butterflies and the crown and the butterfly on the throne as well. That's the transformative aspect of air here. So I think like what this is telling you with the collaborative project, the ideas get transformed more, they get nurtured more, and they come to fruition, and it looks like a good thing. The financial side of things, you got a major, and let's see, this is your second major of the reading. So you've got the Chariot. Chariot's about motion and moving forward. So I feel like what it's saying is that there can be improvement in terms of the financial aspects of the collaborative project, because I know that you're already published in this collaborative effort. So as you go looking forward for the financial aspects, it looks like you could be doing even better going forward with the Chariot. So that looks really good too. With the whatchamacallit, with the doing both at the same time, the third set of cards here, for the emotions, you've got the Knight of Wands reversed. So the Knight of Wands, I'm looking at this purely as like a journey in the pursuit of passion. So, and this horse is the second fastest horse of the Knights. So he's moving forward, but it's blocked, right? Because it's reversed. So I feel like the mixed message that we're getting here is that yes, like by doing both projects, you're pursuing your passion, right? You are pursuing two passions, in fact. So that's great. It's an good Lord. It's the emergency signal from my phone. Let me see if I can make that shut up. Hold on. Okay. All right. So that was the message to say that there is a curfew tonight because of the protests over George Floyd. Anyway, so sorry. So the Knight of Wands, I would say, the mixed message we're getting here is that it is all about it's saying that by working on both, you're absolutely pursuing both of your passions, right? Because of the wands, passions, the fire inside you, all of that stuff. But I think the advancement of both is going to be hampered So like you won't be able to progress as quickly because you're splitting your efforts. So that's something to consider. In terms of the financials, you got the weakest card on the financials too for doing both, right? You've got the Page of Cups. So you have this really resonant, like this cup that runneth over for the solo project, and then you have a major where you're advancing forward like on a chariot for the collaborative effort. But then you have this page for the whatchamacallit, for doing both at the same time. So I'm like, I wonder, this immaturity in terms of finance, the emotional fulfillment is kind of not quite as there because it's the page. So I'm like, it could just be that there's the delay because because of the speed of the horse is being attenuated by that reversal. I feel like the projects will take longer to come to fruition. So there will be, you have to mature, like the page is not quite as ripe as the other court cards if you're going to compare it that way. So I feel like, yeah, I'm trying to think of why doing both projects might, if we look at the page, I don't know if the page is referring to the overall amount of compensation. I feel like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless the quality of the projects will suffer, and therefore maybe this is trying to tell us that you would earn less money because the quality of the projects wouldn't come out as well, and they wouldn't sell as well. It could also just be that it will take longer for the projects to ripen, and therefore the income will be delayed just because of the fact that you can't get them out the door as quickly if you're working on two different things. So I do think, like, I was thinking earlier I'll draw some guidance cards. I'll draw 3 guidance cards for each of these projects just to get a little bit more info. But right now I'm kind of like leaning towards the advice saying that you should pursue the solo project, because I feel like that all of these cups that are resonating on the left-hand side here, there's this harmony over there. And I feel like the hard part of this project is that you need to leave something behind. And there's a sadness there. So let's draw. I have the overall card that you drew, which is going to sum things up. But I still am going to draw advice cards for all 3. Like, what do you, like, a little bit more insight. So let's draw an advice card for the solo project. Advice card for the collaborative effort. Oops. And then an advice card for doing both. Okay, yeah. So we've got the Hangman reversed for the did I say that right? The Hanged Man, yes, the Hanged Man reversed for the advice card for the solo project. So this perfectly harmonizes with where we were going with the 8 of Cups, because leaving something behind, the Hanged Man is about the self-sacrifice. The self-sacrifice that's needed, or the big sacrifice that's needed, that's a bit painful but self-imposed, that you need to do to gain the new perspective and to move on to the next level. So the Hangman hangs himself there so that he can gain new wisdom, make new progress on his spiritual journey, whatever. And so I feel like, okay, that's just kind of reiterating what we were saying with the 8 of Cups about having to move on from something. And it's not going to be the most pleasant thing. Even the guy, like, I'm seeing the red of the outfit too, like, kind of resonating here. So and it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough. It's reversed. It's a major for the advice, so it's going to be a big development for you. But I feel like now that I'll talk about the other cards before I sum up. So the advice card you got for the collaborative project is another page. You got the Page of Pentacles, and it's reversed. So what I'm thinking is that what's that term for writers, early materials of writers? Juvenalia, like a lot of of 19th century writers, like after they die, there'll be a volume published of their juvenilia, things like before their first novel, first book of poetry, whatever it is. Because we love them so much, we want to read every word they ever wrote, but the juvenilia is not of the same quality as their mature work. So what I'm getting from this is, on the earthly plane, right, the materialism, how much earning potential there is, how much emotional satisfaction, how much bread and butter there can be. I feel like what this is saying as an advice card is that maybe this is your maybe the what you call it, the collaborative project, the collaborative project might be kind of your juvenilia. Like, you could keep working in that mode. It looks like you can increase the amount of income you get, but I'm feeling like there's indication that it's like, okay, well, that's where you started, but that isn't necessarily where you're supposed to stay forever, right? There might be some stagnancy. Like, it's planting the seeds. Like, if you look at the page, I always love to see this, like, there's a plowed field that's still lying fallow. It's up to you whether you think the seeds have been planted in that field or not. But if we look at this project as what's been planting the seeds, I think in order to progress, you're going to have to get to the next card in order to see something growing in those fields, right? So I feel like it might be time to say goodbye to the collaborative project in favor of the solo project. And then the last one, the last set here, which is about the doing both at the same time. You've got the Two of Pentacles, which is just telling you, it's like, it's going to be, there's emotional churn with the water in the background, because in the foreground you're having trouble balancing things, right? You're juggling two different projects, and you can just see through the image that there comes problems when you're trying to balance too many things and keep too many balls in motion, or whatever it is. So it's looking like doing both at the same time is not the best thing. And of the two other projects, it looks like the solo is it's going to be the hard one, because you have to leave something behind that's going to be emotionally hard to make that break, but it's what's required to make the big advancement, right? To get to the next level, because of the hangman. It's the hangman is the change in perspective, and the change in spiritual growth, or whatever you want, however you want to phrase it. So yeah, it looks like the solo project's best, the collaborative effort. You can do it, but it looks like it might just kind of be a juvenilia type project, that thing that you like, all of the movies that actors do before they make that big hit. That, I think that's what's saying, is that's kind of what the sum total is here. It's like, that's what that is. The other question you asked was about the first person versus the third person. So before I pull the big summing card that we used your number for, let me just move some of this junk out of the way, and quickly we'll look at this first person versus third person thing. So first person, and third person. Huh. Okay, so the first person, you got the strength card, so you got a major, but it's reversed. So, and I forgot what wait, it's presently written in the third person, but you've been waffling back and forth. So, I mean, what I would say is that the third person looks good because you're already doing it, right? You've got the Nine of Cups. It's whatever it is, it's like you're happy with it already. Otherwise, you would have gotten like an icky card. So it's interesting though that okay, so there's a resonance between the third. Hold on, I have to read your email again. Yeah. So this project, the third person versus third person question has to do with the the solo project that we had over here. So it's very interesting that we had the 8 of Cups over here, and you got the very next card in the sequence for these cards. So I'm like, it's like, again, advancing, kind of the numbers and the suit are advancing over here. So that's kind of interesting. It looks like, if you wrote it in the first person, that, the strength card, there's some sort of finesse that will either come out in the work, or that will be required to write it, because you have the woman who, is basically showing you that there's strength in gentleness, right? There's strength in not being a blunderbuss, and in taming the lion through gentleness rather than through brute force. So I think what that's telling us is there's some sort of tenderness, there's something more intimate, or there's some sort of connection that can be made by doing the work in the first person. However, the card came up reversed. So either I think that that's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to do. Clearly changing a work is already kind of hard work. So that goes without saying. So I don't think it's that. I think that there will be something difficult in it for you. So third person, well, you know what? You didn't tell me if the third person, and the difficulty could be that, if you've written it in third person right now, I don't know the perspective, but if there were omniscience right now, then changing it into the first person, the difficulty could be that, there's the lack of the omniscience that you have to get rid of. And that actually, the omniscience is what was also making me think of that is the lemniscate over her head, right? In the strength cards, that lemniscate over her head, it's like omniscience is about having access to the thoughts of the other characters, and having knowledge that, a human wouldn't naturally have. So, you can write first-person omniscience sometimes. Some people do that. I think that might be the thing that you have to give up, and that might be where the difficulty is coming from. Since that aspect to me is in the card through that lemniscate, the infinity symbol over her head. So yeah, you could change it. It would be more difficult. I think it would lend some sort of intimacy to the story, or a gentleness, or some sort of connection between either the reader and the character, or between the character and other characters in the work, or somehow. But it looks like the third person looks just as good. Let me pull a guidance card for these. So we've compared, we took a temperature read on both options. Let's pull a card to guide you. Okay. The Emperor. Trying to think how it's kind of like first person versus third person is not something you come up with a lot in tarot. So I'm trying to think of what the Emperor is trying to tell us here, in terms of your guidance. Well, it's a masculine archetype, and it's the father. You know what? I think adding up all the symbols, right, and adding it to what I was just saying about the lemniscate, I'm thinking that what this is saying is that if you have omniscience in the work, the guidance with the Emperor might be having to preserve that for something in the story, because this is like the father figure. This is the archetypical father figure. So I'm trying to translate the Emperor into narrative structure, right, and story. So I'm thinking that the advice card is keep the omniscience, right, however you do it. And that would be harder to do with the first person. So hopefully I'm not even going to dwell on it anymore. So hopefully that gave you some insights that you can think about in terms of what choice you need to make for that. I think I'm done with all the cards that are out. So let's take a look at the card that your number pulled out of the deck for just kind of sum up the whole thing. You've got the Queen of Wands reversed, Okay, that's interesting. So, what I'm going to tell you is that I feel like by getting like the sum up card as the Queen of Wands is that, this is one of those things where it's about these are your desires, your passions, and this is all about how your passion project or it's not really one project because you have multiple projects. So your passion career area, the whole area of your life, this writing, how writing is manifesting in your life as a passion, right? So because it's your passion, it's up to you to nurture it. And so you've got the Queen of Wands reversed. I would just say that it's really coming down to when you make these decisions about what you have to do, it's about where are you going to achieve mastery in a nurturing sort of way. So we're not talking about what the advice here to sum up your reading is like saying that, okay, you're not going to be the King of Wands where you're going to be the blunderbuss. You're going to be like, just kind of like, how would you say it? Like ordering people around or making sort of like commands, like not commands of yourself, demands of yourself in order to make like the best financial thing happen, or the the best whatever decision, or it's like, it's really kind of reminding you that it's like, okay, well, where can I be kind to myself? Where can I be nurturing towards my craft? How do I nurture my craft, and so that that this stays and remains a passion? Because you have the mastery, you've got the Queen. The Queen is pensive and nurturing and calculating to some degree, but thoughtful. The Queen's thoughtful. So, and the Queen is not going to do things to like, we're not talking about Marie Antoinette Queen. We're talking about, tarot archetypes. The Queen is going to be the kinder between the Queen and the King. So, where can you just be, you look at all of this where it's like, okay, well, I have like delicate pansies that I've planted for, the spring, and I need them to grow. Where can I be gentle? Where can I be like, the strength card here? Where is it when I make these decisions and walk these paths? What's the most nurturing thing I can do to like keep my passion growing and alive, and keep it, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm at a loss for words today. So, but I think you know what I mean. So I think this is really about, it's kind of like self-care for your craft, is what I'm getting here. It might be a little difficult, like because it's reversed, and maybe, what this is saying is that you might have made some decisions in the past that haven't been that way. You've been trying to be more pragmatic, more focused on money, or more focused on your writing partner's needs or whatever. But I think in order to turn this card around, what it's saying is like that, okay, journal, make decisions that are going to be beneficial for you, but nurturing your craft, throughout. So I really like this reading. And just coming back to the oracle card that you had, the play, I think resonates really well with this Queen of Wands, right? So where is it, like, as you're making these decisions, like, where is it that make the decision where it's like not necessarily the most sound business decision, but the one where it's like you're gonna keep the most enjoyment, right? The play here. So with the Queen, like when it comes down to it, this first person versus third person thing, what are you going to enjoy writing the most? So the Queen here, like you have like the what do you call it? The pros and the cons, but when it comes down to it, which of these two are you going to enjoy the most? In fact, which of the writing projects are you going to enjoy the most? Even though there might be like emotional consequences, all of that stuff. Okay, so I think that's about it. I hope this was really helpful, and take care and good luck with all of your projects.